There's one thing we've learned about being a Browns fan is that they will always find ways to disappoint. Last week was one of only 2 times in the season that both of us predicted a Browns W. That was when they played the Jets. We all know how that turned out. In this game, when they played the Titans. And once again, they make us look like fools. Every time we think there's a chance, they have a way of just somehow going below that. We got that and more for you on this week's episode of the Brownie Points podcast. I'm your host, Noam, and I'm here with my co-host,
Levi.
This episode, we're going to be getting into Kevin Stefanski's, let's say, questionable decision-making in the fourth quarter. Then we'll get into Shadeur Sanders, what our evaluation of his performance was, what his grade was. Then we're going to have our Brownie Points segment. That's where we award Brownie Points to the standout players on offense and on defense. And then we are going to finish off the episode with the preview segment, Browns versus Bears. We'll give you our predictions as well as some over-unders for the game, not for betting purposes, but just more for interesting discussional purposes and how we think individuals will perform in that game. But Levi, we're going to kick it off with Kevin Stefanski. Going into that fourth quarter, the Browns are obviously down by 2 touchdowns. They did, I think, a pretty nice job making a comeback. They make the interesting decision to go for 2, which put them in the position of having to go for 2 again later on. They ended up losing by just a couple points.
2 points, yep.
2 points. If they had kicked those field goals, it would have been a tie game.
Probably going on
overtime.
Right? I mean, how much time was left? Like, there was very little time left.
Yeah, exactly. Probably would have gone to overtime, and then, of course, who knows what happens.
No guarantees, though.
What
Probably.
on earth was Kevin Stefanski thinking? Or maybe Tommy Rees. Not sure who you think that was on.
That's Stefanski. Going for it and going for 2 points is always the head coach. Even defensive-minded head coaches typically are the ones making that decision. They may not make the play call, but they decide that. That's almost exclusively head coaches. If you have a defensive-minded head coach, you might have someone who occasionally, if they have like a really good coordinator, so like a Shanahan in his day when he was coordinator, if you're dealing with defensive head coach, they might give up for that. But typically, it is the head coach's decision. Almost always. So I would say Stefanski.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially because he's offensive-minded. There's no way he's backing off of that.
Because Tommy Rees, because even with coaches, when they have the play caller, they might call the plays, but the coach typically, as far as like fourth down calls, when to go for it, that typically is the head coach generally. So
that's why people talk about Dan Campbell all those years when Ben Johnson was coordinator.
What kind of logical decision-making do you think led Kevin Stefanski to say, yeah, let's go for 2, even though it doesn't necessitate it?
I can tell you what the logical decision is. I don't agree with it. But here's the logic. The logic basically is I don't think we win in overtime. That's his logic. His logic is we do not have a very good chance of winning in overtime. Mm-hmm. We're playing worse. Our best bet is to catch them flat-footed as they're trying to play not to lose and hold on to their lead. Catch them flat-footed, and if we get that chance to get in there when it's like, oh my God, time's running out, now we have to really go for it. Yeah, we can sneak out the win by getting the extra point, and then with very little time left, we could defensively hold perhaps and then win the game. Mm-hmm. Because his thought process is they're playing better than us. So like if we go to overtime and there's like a break in between restart, they're just playing better than us. They're going to win. That's his thought process.
Right. It's like the defense.
So that's
also was not stopping.
The defense wasn't playing particularly well.
If we go in there, it might just be a matter of who wins the coin toss, right?
And honestly, and I'm going to get more into this, the offense was not looking good until they played prevent. So you kind of feel like if you go into OT, like it's going to be a different story. Now, with that being said, this isn't making a smart decision. First of all, you probably should wait till the second time to make that decision because you get a better idea of the game continues to go, etc. But the idea is supposed to be is that if you miss it, you get a chance to go for 2 again, and then you have a higher chance of at least tying it. Mm-hmm. So if you go for it once, you miss it, but if you go for it twice, you probably get one of them.
So you don't think it was as much of an analytics-based
So the idea is you go for the first time because if you get it, you go for you don't know which one you'll make, in other words. The idea is supposed to be you have a very good chance to make one of 2. So if you go for the first time and you miss it, then you go for the second time, you have a very good chance of hitting one of them, which you tie it. If you make it the first time, you only have to go for it once, and you can just kick the extra point the next time.
Right.
I'll be good around that. But my problem is that this is a very inconsistent team. And one play is just not a good bet, period. So I would say better bet, if you decide to have a particular play call, in the moment, I can understand it. But going for the first, but even then, I don't necessarily agree. You have the momentum. That can do a lot for you. Teams get caught flat-footed, and then once they lose the momentum, a lot of times they don't get it back, particularly when they're a team that loses as much as the Titans do. They are a bad team.
Yeah.
So
they're not used to holding on to wins.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't love that decision. I can understand where he's coming from, but I still think it's really stupid.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's the classical problem of this current regime is the over analytics. Like, you have to balance that with being a football guy. Like, John Harbaugh of the Ravens, tons of statistics guys, tons of analytics guys in his organization. But it's balanced against those football guys at the top. But they have tons of those guys in the background. They do put a heavy emphasis. Whenever people do a deep dive, they find out how much they actually do put an emphasis on analytics. They do. They just understand where the balance is and where momentum is real. It's not going to be on paper, but it is real.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that need to be balanced, and it's something Stefanski doesn't do. And this organization as a whole, this regime, I should say, does not do a good job of understanding that. Okay, let me put it this way. A great CEO does not get a COO who is a little less, who isn't quite as good at what they do best. Right. A great CEO gets good leadership behind him who is good at what he does badly. Or she, obviously.
But round it out.
But the point is, a great leader gets people around them who can, complement their weaknesses.
Right.
But people are often either they're bullheaded about their opinions and think everybody should have that, or they are too insecure.
Yeah.
So very often you see with play calling coaches where they need to always call the plays and everything because they're insecure. Right. They don't feel secure that like if they give that up that they're people are like, oh, like, what do you do then?
Yeah.
The point being is I don't know which of those two reasons it is, but ultimately they have not done a good job of getting other people with different points of views into the building.
Or at least points of views that they're listening to, right?
I mean, Vrabel got like 1 year as a consultant. That's about it.
Yeah. And the team, and I will say also one more thing, is that when you talk about the balance between, being a football guy, so to speak, is kind of what it's called, right? Or being an analytics guy. In my opinion, the way the analytics works, I don't want to say it's not an opinion, but like, I'm not an expert when it comes to analytics, but this is my understanding of that, right? Is that's all about percentages.
Generally, yeah.
And it's all about like, yes, maybe you think, why go for it on fourth down? If you don't get it, then you're just giving the ball right back to them in a great position, right? You say, no, but because if you go for it on fourth down versus kicking the field goal, you're going to get the field goal X amount of times, which is worth 43%, whatever it is, of a touchdown. So if there's a 20% you get a touchdown, right? And they do all their number games, right? And they decide, okay, it's better to go for it on fourth down. You have to make that decision consistently for those statistics to play out in your favor. So if the analysts come out and say, yeah, it's better to go for it on fourth down because there's a 58% chance that it's going to actually turn out in your favor, right? You have to keep doing that for it to average out in your favor.
But also it depends on what type of offense you have, right? Like if you have a big,
yes.
If you have a big play offense, that's not good for you. Mm-hmm. Those kinds of plays are much better on teams that do a lot of consistent plays than a team that does big plays but they're sporadic. Mm-hmm. You're much more likely to miss a much higher percentage than analytics says you would.
Right. Like, I mean, you have to have that with your intuition.
It's the application, right?
Yeah, and like recognizing what your team is, and that's the thing about the Browns is that like we are not a team that should be doing that kind of stuff. We don't have that kind of dynamism on offense or those kinds of playmakers. I mean, we got guys like Judkins, but if you're the only guy, then they could just stack the box against you, right?
Yeah.
We've done this all the time. We're watching games, and they're like within the 40, and they're on 4th and 1, and they go for it. Most of the time, because they're the Browns. Yeah, okay. Let's say there's a 90% chance you get the field goal. And let's just say this is not the case, but let's just say there was a 90% chance you get the 4th and 1. Okay, well, after you get the 4th one, you still have another 30 yards to go, genius, right? Before you can actually get those points, before you can actually reap those rewards. So what percentage is it that you're going to get the touchdown after that? Because for the Browns, it's pretty small.
And also depends on the game, right? Like it depends on the game's going. How's the other team's offense doing? How's your defense doing?
Your exactly. Doing? So, and like, generally, I have found that when I've seen the Browns go for it on 4th down, I've generally found that when I go back and I count up, okay, what if they took a field goal there? If they've taken a field goal there, that their final attempt would have been either a salvageable play, meaning that instead of being down by an insurmountable lead, you're actually like within range, or they would have either been tied or even had the lead in some scenarios. Like I just generally am not so into all this. I love analytics. This isn't one of those cases where I'm not such a huge fan when it comes to an offense like the Browns. For other more dynamic offenses, I think it generally makes sense. For the Browns, I don't think it does. And this is one of those situations where I just don't understand what you're doing, man. Like, this team needs a win. On the flip side, maybe Kevin Stefanski is thinking, man, we really need to lose. We need those high draft picks, right? We don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes, but I don't think anybody's actually taking intentionally.
I don't think it's thinking.
But there's another thing to analyze here, okay, fine? So I understand that you're saying you don't think they necessarily did that entirely because of analytics. A lot of that may have been actually a little bit of football guy in there saying, the way that our momentum is going, the way our defense is playing, we're probably not going to stop them in overtime. maybe it's not a good idea to put that ball into our defense's hands like that on a game like today. But on that second attempt, at that point they had to go for 2, right? But they do this gadget play, and I'm not saying I dislike it, but let's take this here for a second, right? Judkin gets the ball. They got the jet sweep guy coming around here, and clearly Judkins was supposed to either hand it to him or lateral to him. We're not entirely sure because it clearly busted up. But instead of lateraling the ball to the guy, he reaches out like this, pulls it back, and then does a little run around and tries to salvage the play. It doesn't work, and the whole play blown up, and it's a dud, and they really had no chance. It was dead on arrival. What do you think about the decision to do some kind of a gadget play in that situation? Because my feeling, generally, is that I like it. I think this is the time to throw in a little bit of trickery. The problem is that when you do that, you got to execute. And when it looks like that, it looks like a nightmare. I think that if Judkins had simply succeeded on the lateral, and then, I don't remember who it was coming around that jet sweep, but if they had just gotten tackled for a loss, I'd have been like, I'm okay with that. Like, I feel like you gave it their best effort. You know what I mean? You pulled the trick out of your sleeve. You put all your cards on the table. I'm kind of okay with it, but the fact that it busted up changes everything. It's one of those like idiot or genius plays.
The fact that he made that mental error makes you wonder, like, are they practicing enough?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's like idiot or genius, because like you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, did they practice this 10 times leading up to it, and this is entirely Judkins' fault? Or
also,
did you just pull out
probably have tried this play prior in the regular in a non-fourth down situation. Right. Usually they'll throw these in the less important situations to try these things out, which I think is useful. But also, I don't love getting cute. I don't love getting cute because as much as we're going to get into this, me and Shadeur, not my high pick, he is really good in the red zone. Mm-hmm. Like, that is his strength.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would have taken him off the field in that situation.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because when he first came in,
because you can always pitch it later as an option.
When he first came in, they took him off the field all the time in the red zone. They ran like 10 wildcats from the red zone. But now that we've had more time with him, he's actually quite poised in the red zone.
Showed you that
he can make that little toss, and because of the use of his legs, he can, as we saw in that game, right? He can get you those 5 yards if there's nothing there, if it's all covered.
Nothing, which is not crazy with his legs, but
he can do. He's very shifty. He's shifty.
But he's great layering. His throws have good touch. It's always his strength. Mm-hmm. So that helps out a lot in the red zone. And in that situation, he's very good. Like, he's legitimately very good in the red zone, but that showed in the preseason. That's something we talked about in the preseason. Mm-hmm. Something I said, look, he looks really good in the red zone. I think none of that looked fluky. Like, he looks like he genuinely has good touch, good understanding, good layering, and that plays out really well in the red zone. And, like, so, look, if you get to the point, take your gift. Like,
yeah.
This is where he's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
yeah, exactly. Let's get a little bit further into Shadeur Sanders.
Do you want to go first? Give him his positive?
I'm going to go first, okay? Because
give him his positive.
Yeah, we knew that we disagreed, and we're like, okay, fine, we'll get into it on the podcast. But I liked his performance. I was surprised. I am aware that a fair amount of his yards came as a result of the Browns being down and the Titans switching to a prevent defense of some kind and providing more cushioning and allowing more room for Shadeur Sanders to make plays. That being said, he made the plays that were there to him. And look, Dillon Gabriel has been down. I'm not here to pile on Dillon Gabriel. But Dillon Gabriel is down in a lot of games, and he did not respond by turning in even a 200-yard game. And Shadeur responded by turning in a 350-yard game. I think that we have to acknowledge that is at least better than what the replacement option is, right? Like, he has been, like, it was pretty good. He did a good job of taking advantage. The second thing that I want to say, a positive from him that I was impressed with, was his pocket management, which has continued to, in my opinion, progress. There were quite a bunch of plays in which things broke down. Not just that, because again, our biggest concern was that he was leaving clean pockets, which is a disaster. Then I was like, okay, he's not leaving the clean pocket, but when there's some pressure, he's still leaving the pocket. Okay, in that game, by and large, most of the time, I think there was 2 plays or so where he didn't really do this, but most of the time, when there was pressure, he either held his ground in the pocket or stepped up, then slid out to the left and to the right. He went both directions. He's not doing the same thing every time. That will become predictably. And he, on a number of those plays, was able to turn those into gains because of how he extended the play. Without his improvement in his pocket management, there were a couple of those plays that would not have been possible, that would not have happened without his quick feet. The third thing that I want to say that I thought he did well was he's got so much toughness.
Oh, he's tough.
When he's in that pocket, and the pocket has been collapsing, or he needs to make the throw, he is ready to stand his ground and deliver the best throw he can as if nobody was about to knock the air out of his lungs. And then they do. And that's been very impressive. And that is a really underrated and important trait for a quarterback, because a lot of times you got that split second, you've got to just stand in there and make the throw. And I thought he did that very well. So basically, I saw improved pocket management. I think he took advantage of what the defense gave him, which you could say maybe you don't want to give him a ton of credit for that, but we've had other quarterbacks in here that were not doing the same thing. And I saw a touch on some of his balls. Not all of them. Some of them were inaccurate, but I saw some nice touch. I saw a number of plays with really nice ball placement and accuracy where the receiver was on the run and the ball was in front of them over here, so they didn't have to break stride, which allowed them to turn into a bigger gain. I believe it was Jerry Jeudy specifically is who I'm thinking of. He was coming across.
The touchdown?
Yeah, grabbed the ball, but if that ball
Jeudy,
didn't have perfect placement, he would have had to slow down. The defenders were right there. They would have grabbed him. But because that ball was placed in front of him, pretty much exactly on target, he was able to grab it and take it up. And so for all of that, I thought it was a very solid performance. Obviously, we already talked about him being strong in the red zone. I thought he obviously did well with his feet in the red zone. There really was nothing there on that play. I thought his decision-making, it was better than I was expecting it to be. He has continued to impress me. Not to blow me away, but he's continued to impress me in that he's been showing improvement. And I'm not saying that because of this one game that we should throw away the draft plans and should not look to take a quarterback with our highest draft pick. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not saying that Shadeur Sanders is the answer to the Browns' quarterback problems. I'm not saying that Shadeur Sanders is the franchise quarterback. But I will say, to me, this game was a B. A solid B performance. Nothing insane. There are a lot of other quarterbacks that could have had similar performances, but there are a lot that couldn't.
Yeah, a lot of them would not have put us in that spot in the first place. Because he was bad for a lot of that game.
The pick was really bad.
No, so let's go back to that first half. He had one really nice play, people. Jerry Jeudy. That was a beautiful play. Mm-hmm. But most of the half, he was not doing much. Judkins took it 65 yards and put us there. He wasn't doing much most of that half. It was kind of same old Shadeur. Makes one really big play for the first half. 1 second. Mm-hmm. The first half, for the most part, that's what was going on. There wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah.
You go into the second half. He has a couple nice plays. But most of the half, he was terrible. He threw a pick. They had him dialed in. He went 2 straight 3-and-outs after that. They were knocking down balls, looking at him, getting closer and closer to picking him off. They were dialed in. I mean, they were getting there before the balls were there. They were coming in late because he doesn't throw the balls quickly. He doesn't make reads quickly, and they were reading him before they went to a prevent because they were up 2 touchdowns. And they made the classic Austin Browns move back in the day. We've seen a million times. Back when they weren't running a super dominant defense most times, besides for this game. God knows why. But besides that, we've seen them, turtle up. Like you have a big lead and suddenly go, prevent.
Yeah.
And then you're out. But he looked terrible for a long while, and people keep forgetting that. But you can't forget that time. Now, look, I do want to give a shout out, where it's due before. I'm not trying to overlook his good moments. Okay, so like Harold Fannin Jr., that was a beautiful pass over the shoulder. It was, as the kids would say, a dot. But it was, spot on. But his only good balls are in the pocket when it's clean. He can step up, and it's man coverage. It has to be man because he can't read zone. I'm telling you, sooner or later, there's a problem, and it would have been a bigger problem in this game if they didn't decide to play prevent. When they did that, it opened it up for him. At the end, they didn't in red zone, but he's actually good in the red zone. Mm-hmm. The next drive, most of it was penalties. There was one play in the middle of the field where Sampson got man-to-man. All the receivers were downfield. He had great blocking. By the way, the Browns offensive line is blocking the best I've ever seen from a Browns offensive line in 3-4 years. I don't know what's going on, but we're actually getting 3 seconds of clean pocket. That is insane in the NFL. And he's getting that consistently. People are like, oh, pocket's breaking down because he's taking forever to make reads. But it's 3 full seconds. That's insane. I mean, and you're seeing these balls, and it's just what are you doing? So then, okay, but let's not get too derailed. He throws it off to Dylan Sampson. Sampson breaks open. That's great. It's about, 5-6 yards past the line of scrimmage? Sampson breaks open and gets good yardage. It's the right play. Don't get too greedy, for sure, but limited props. And the other 2 were penalties. And then he gets to the red zone, where once again, he's actually really good and layers a beautiful pass. And it shouldn't be overlooked that he's good in the red zone. What I looked at is that the majority of the game, he could not move the ball. It was one big play, Judkins making a big play because it was behind the line of scrimmage, and the majority was that. He had one of the big play, which was to Fannin. I want to give him credit for it because it was a beautiful pass. But he does need that step-up man coverage where I can make the read because it's not true reads. He's not anticipating. He's not seeing where things are going. It was a go route. He had him beat on a go. He sees people are open, and then he throws it. Sooner or later, that does come back to bite you in a lot bigger fashion than it showed in this game. And it showed for a while, but because of the end of the game, we forget about it. But in later games, it won't happen like that. Like, this is why, I'm trying to explain to people, but like, this is why, and I know I seem super stubborn, but I stuck with Baker in his worst days. Last year, all this past offseason, I kept saying, Jaden Daniels, he's not good. And everybody was like, he's top 5. He's not good. He's played this year, he's not looked good this year. He's looked real bad. I'm just saying, I stick with guys. Am I always right? God, no, I'm not always right. But I do find that in the long term, I tend to be right more often than I'm wrong on my stronger given opinions.
Sometimes it takes a while, but yeah. But the Baker the Baker one was right.
Baker was right.
I remember when he was on the Panthers, you stuck with him. You stuck with him still. You said, I still think he's good. I don't think the Panthers are managing him right.
CJ Stroud, didn't like him coming out. He's come down big time. And at first, admittedly, after his rookie year, at first I was like, wow, am I wrong? He looks good.
Yeah.
He's come down. Did not like Justin Fields coming out at all. I thought it was garbage.
Yeah, same.
I'm just saying, but like, and look, some of them I'm wrong. Some of them I am. I was wrong about Josh Allen. But I'll tell you what, I'm not ashamed that I was wrong about Josh Allen. I will go back and give the same opinion about Josh Allen. He's an outlier. You don't change the rule for outliers.
Right.
But we're getting too far. But my point is, I stick with my opinions for a reason. And if long term I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. Because if you produce for a long enough period of time, after like a couple seasons, and you're still producing consistently, well then maybe I don't get why, but you are. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I see all the signs that point to huge, huge failure in the near future. And I don't buy in. And like when I'm looking back at what I see is half a game against the Ravens looked like garbage. Came against the Raiders, had one really nice play, came back and did a terrible interception. They protected him, didn't do much. Niners, he had some moments, but he didn't do a lot most of the game. They scored 8 points in the whole game. And then this game, which was like, people are focusing on these good moments and they're worth mentioning, but there are still glaring weaknesses to me.
So here's the thing, right? For me, I wasn't saying that I don't see any potential issues in the future, right? Like I even said specifically that I'm not saying that he's the franchise guy. I'm not saying he's the answer to their problems. And I'm not saying they should, scrap their draft plans. I'm just saying in this game, in isolation, I have to give him credit. He did well with what was given to him. And to me, he did a B with what was given to him.
Oh, okay.
Would you agree with that? Would you concede
so
that?
No, I would not concede that. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I give him some credit. I'm going to give him a C+, which to me is very generous in the situation.
Sure.
But I would give it to him, but I'm not going to give it too much because I think he's largely to blame for why we were in that situation against the worst team in the league.
You don't think it was the defense and special teams doing all kinds
defense played a role for sure, but you also didn't move the offense. Like, people have just kind of forgot huge chunks of the game where he was doing nothing, and the only reason why we were getting first downs was the run game.
Well, like, if you were a quarterback and you have two halves, one half being good, one half being bad, wouldn't you rather the first half be bad and the second half be good?
Okay, but that's not 100% what I'm saying, though.
Well, yeah,
because he wasn't good in the second half. He was good once we went prevent. I'm not that's very limited.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that like
prevent and,
it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Meaning that like if you have a really good first half and a bad second half, if it was flipped, right? If you had a good first half and a bad second half,
you'd rather
I would probably know what I'm saying. But here's what I mean, though, right? For the exact same stats and performance in the second half as he did the first half, and it was flipped, right? I'd probably give him like a C or a C plus because that's a terrible sign. Like, you're a good quarterback when you play well under pressure. And I'm not saying he was under so much pressure because they were down, but I'm just saying.
Actually, it depends. Often I disagree. Often I give a higher grade. Because chances are you were playing really well, and then they kind of took you out of the game because
no, I'm talking about how you played. I'm not talking about like just.
But I'm saying, but usually people view it as poor. But then what actually happens is then they start trying, but they're out of rhythm, and so they come off playing a little poor. But if they've been playing well at the beginning, it means they played well when it mattered. They're probably good. It just probably got a little rusty in the moment, and we're out of it, which is something we need to work on. But chances are that's a good quarterback performance, as opposed to someone who waits till the prevent comes along, then gets gifted some penalty yardage. I don't think that's playing all that well. You still play well in the red zone, that's fine, because he always plays well in the red zone. But he would never have gotten to the red zone if they decide to play aggressive.
Do you think
so? I don't think that's playing well.
Do you think his pocket management has improved?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Well, he did improve from the perspective of he used to have the world's worst pocket management. His pocket management used to be so terrible, and you can go back and watch that Ravens game. It's right there in the Ravens game.
Yeah, I know.
I think that was a wake-up call.
That's why I kept predicting like that that's why I kept thinking they were going to get destroyed, was because of how horrific his pocket management was. And I was like,
that pocket management would have had him being benched on a UFL team. Like, it was that. Yeah. And I'm not actually being serious.
Very, very
he would have
bad.
been. I've watched the UFL. He would have been. A lot of the UFL. He would have been. So it was that bad. So he did stop doing that. His pocket management is not terrible. I think it's a little I still think I still see some issues at times, and I'm curious to see it more in a game where the Browns' offensive line doesn't do well in the pass block, like actually doesn't do well.
Yeah.
Like there were times in the game later in the game where they didn't do so well, and he struggled a lot more. So I'm curious to see what happens in a game where he actually gets pressure on a relatively consistent basis.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens then.
Although in this game he did generally respond to pressure well, I felt.
Decently, yes, but it's still only a half pressure. Like 3 full seconds before it starts to collapse is not like pressure.
I understand what you're saying.
Like there are games. I'm just saying. Like let's see how it goes. They're still blocking like one of the better pass blocking lines I've like right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't have like this game alleviated my concerns for the future.
No, and that's fine.
Just to be clear though, like I'm not crazy. I do recognize that, but I felt like I said, for what he was given,
improved, though. His pocket management
for what he was given, I felt he did.
And he is hitting well. When he does see them, like when the read isn't a problem and he can see the man and he can step up in the pocket and get his pad in, those balls are really good. Mm-hmm. So that's really nice. Like at least when it is there, he does absolutely nail it. Mm-hmm. I want to give him credit on that. But you did see later on in the game where they were reading him because he would take a while and he would pat and he would go get it and they would read it and make a beeline. And there are better teams than Titans out there. So that's my issue. But I do take a moment. He does hit certain nice balls. His red zone's great. When he does see a man and he can step up, he does hit those, absolutely nails them. And his pocket management is maybe not great, but it's leagues better than where it was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, agreed.
So just to balance myself out a little bit.
Yeah. All right, well, there you go. Levi, you say so you give him a C+.
I'll give him a C+. I'll be a little generous to the fans. I want to give him a C-. All
right.
I'll give him a C+. You know what? We are all human. He had some good stats. 260 yards after the catch.
Okay.
But C+.
So the Brownie Points is where we wrote Brownie Points. Standout players on offense and on defense. The more Brownie Points you get, the better we thought you did. So we give out 3, 2, and 1, but we do not give Brownie Points unless you deserved it. There were games this season where we gave no Brownie Points to anybody because nobody deserved it. So it's not just who was the technically better than other people. You have to actually have had a great game. And we do have some disagreement here, which is actually kind of rare. This season we've been almost always agreeing on our Brownie Point selections. This week, we finally actually have some disagreement, which probably is more interesting for the viewers. But we're not going to change it up just to get more views. 3 Brownie Points. Who do you got?
Well, this is where we agree. First of all, nice to talk about some actual performances.
Yes.
Some excitement.
I know.
Outside of the defense, right? So I got Harry Fannin Jr. I think that's a pretty obvious one.
Yeah.
And we do agree because it's pretty obvious. I mean, he had a beast of a game. He's been the best receiving option we've had all year. I think it's been very, very clear.
6 grabs, 111 yards, I believe it was, and a touchdown.
Dynamic tight end, which also says they should probably trade Njoku while he still has value because he is actually very good. So if you're going to move on and give Fannin this many targets,
because Fannin's actually getting the lion's share.
So it's like, why are you wasting Njoku? Just trade him. He's got value. He's a good tight end.
Njoku was the rookie if you were watching.
I would have traded him at the deadline. Like there are teams trying to win championships. He is a very good tight end.
They probably like him a lot for depth. But
I know, but a guy that good, trade him for whatever. And that's a different story. But Fannin is a monster. Fannin's excellent. He's great after the catch. He runs great routes. He's got some pretty good speed for his size. Like he can move downfield, like you saw in that go route. Like he can do.
And he's so good after the catch.
Pretty much everything.
The way he just gets the ball and just manages to push for a few extra yards is awesome.
He is really, really good. So I think we agree on that. So here's where we get to.
Here's where we start to disagree. Although it's
kind of played out if you've been watching. But
Yes, exactly. But at 2 Brownie Points, I have Shadeur Sanders. I thought he had a really strong game for what he was given. I know that they were playing prevent defense. I know he was down. He was forced to throw the ball more, so you're automatically going to have your stats inflated. But again, Gabriel had games where they were also down by a lot, and he did not suddenly throw for 350
I would contest
yards.
that point because against the Niners, we didn't suddenly start scoring. We weren't
always down. Always going to do that
because we weren't always down 2 touchdowns to the worst team in the league. Okay. A little different when you're playing the worst team in the league than when you're playing like a Niners or like who were we down to? When we played worst teams, the defense dominated. We were winning against those bad teams. But I would argue it's a different game.
Fair enough. I'm giving it to him.
But okay,
I'm grading him in a vacuum.
Good yardage,
it's like
couple nice
doing
plays
with what you were given. B to me.
All right.
Who do you have at 2 Brownie Points?
Mine is Carson Schwarzenegger. I thought he had a really phenomenal game. I mean, the defense was not very good, but
he was defensive rookie really of the week or of the month. He was defensive rookie of the month.
He's probably going to win defensive rookie of the year.
He's looking like it, and Myles Garrett looking like defensive player of the year.
I mean, he got 20 sacks, so probably. Schwarzenegger he looked phenomenal. It was a tough day for the defense, but he looked really, really, really good. I love Schwarzenegger. I liked him a lot coming out. But I'll be honest, as much as I thought he was going to be really good this year, he's even exceeded that, which is really saying a lot for a guy who, when you realize, like, this is only his second year playing linebacker in his life.
Right, period. Not like...
He played 1 year in college at linebacker, and you suddenly realize, like, not only is he looking great, not only does he have as a rookie make you think that there's more upside, but he's only played it for a second year. There could be real upside. Like, he could be the best linebacker in the league. I don't know he will be. But he might have that potential because there is that upside that we're not sure about because he played the position for such a short period of time and he's so good in such a short period of time. And quite frankly, there aren't that many great linebackers right now. I'm not saying there aren't good linebackers, but think about it. Is there any, like, dominant linebacker right now?
I mean, off the top of my head, I was
no, right? So I'm not saying there aren't good linebackers, but there isn't like Bobby Wagner when he was in his prime, and it was like Luke Kuechly. When there were guys, going back before him and Ray Lewis.
I don't know that there's a household name linebacker.
There isn't really a household name linebacker, right? Like I'm not saying, and I'm not talking about outside linebackers. Okay, nobody come in there with the pass rushers. Okay, that's a different thing. It's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about middle linebackers.
Like Khalil Mack. That's not what we're talking about.
We're talking about middle linebackers.
We're talking about guys who are primarily coverage and tackling guys, not edge rushers, okay? It's a different category. I just hate when people do that.
Schlesinger look like he's going to finish with like 100.
It's like when you talk about directional schools and someone has to go West Virginia. It's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about like Northwestern Tennessee, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, different story.
Southeastern Alabama State.
Yeah, exactly. But wow, what a player. I love what he's doing. Obviously, not that makes me a genius, but I love it. And he looks awesome, so he gets my 2 stars. Yeah.
And then I already said Shadeur Sanders. And at 1 brownie point, who do you got? Because for me, 1 brownie point is Carson Schlesinger. I'm not going to repeat everything you just said. He's great. We all know it. Who do you have at 1?
1, I actually have Judkins. I thought he made a couple really nice plays, and I don't think he had the bad plays.
I think the Shadeur Sanders
Judkins
fan club is going to take a lot of disrespect to the fact that you gave Quinshon Judkins 1 brownie point over Shadeur Sanders.
They could, but he had that big screenplay, and then I thought he had a couple of the really nice run plays, and he just didn't have the negative plays. So Shadeur is my half, so he doesn't get 1. He gets an honorable mention, because I did think he did have some good plays, but I'm also attributing a lot of negative. So when you combine the negative and the positive, and I am also putting a big asterisk on some of that positive, altogether, I'm giving it to Judkins first.
Yeah.
You can think how you like. You can be mad at me. Ultimately, it will be solved in the long term.
Yeah, we'll find. Well, maybe we'll find out.
He's going to start probably till the end of the year.
No, he'll start to the end of the year, but he could be in this situation.
Hopefully, because I don't want. I hope. Meaning, I want to be very clear. I really hope health and everything is good.
Yeah.
Whatever I think about us playing, I want him to be healthy. So
yeah,
I'm saying that's why I'm saying hopefully till the end of the year. I don't want other things to happen.
Yeah. All right. Browns Bears.
Yeah. Browns
Bears.
Time for the preview.
Boy.
Dun, 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 dun.
The Browns have been so.
We just lost to the
difficult.
1-win Titans.
I know. So
the worst team in the league.
I felt so confident when the Browns played that game against the Jets, and I felt so confident about this Browns game against the Titans.
After how dominant the defense played the last 4 or 5 weeks, you were like, okay, well, they're playing the Titans.
Right.
Well, of course
I think it just goes to show you what a lousy team this is.
Well, that's why you got to fire Kevin.
I know.
Because they're finding ways to lose. What else can you say but they're finding ways to lose?
Right. And that's the thing, is that when you're a team, like, you will see teams sometimes that are upstart teams, right? And they maybe they don't win the big game. Okay, but they also maybe are playing over their heads anyways, right? But are they beating up on the bad teams, and are they competitive with the teams at their level? Yeah. Are the Browns? No. They kind of look like they were, but when you now that we're done with this game, it's kind of like two of the bad teams they played really well, and then 2 of them they lost to.
Yeah, I mean the Jets was freakish.
That's what I'm saying.
The Bengals, don't forget that Bengals game in the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been a win.
Right.
But a 1-win team. This team, if it was better coached, probably has 2 to 3 more wins. Not saying to be superstars, but
yeah.
At a certain point, you start looking and be like, but also the thing is how they're losing. Like it's like this way, this week, this week, this way, this week, this way, this week, this is added on. This week, this is added on. At a certain point, you sit there and go, well, the special teams guy's still around. At some point, you just look at it and go, they're finding ways to lose. When teams find ways to lose, you fire the head coach.
Yeah, and it makes it really difficult to predict in a game like this because there's just been no consistency. It's like they play a great team, and then sometimes, I forget which team it was off the top of my head now, but they play them pretty good. The Packers, right? Packers are a good team.
Oh, all the way back there. But that's the only team, though.
But I'm just saying.
That's the only team.
Still, they played them well. Then they play a terrible team, and then they destroy them, like the Dolphins. The Dolphins actually ended up playing pretty good after that. But
yeah, weirdly, yeah.
But then they play the Raiders. Okay, they play really good against the Raiders. Then they lose against the Jets. They lose against the Titans. They're all over the place, which is why the record looks the way it does. The Bears they're not the inverse of the Browns, but they're kind of having a different kind of a season here. Not saying that
they're 9-4.
I'm saying they're not having a phenomenal season, but they're having
a good year.
I mean, it's about as good as you could have ever asked for from the Bears.
I'll tell you who it's really good for. Ben Johnson, the head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you look at the play of Caleb Williams, this has not been that great this year. So for him to get this many wins with a quarterback play that's still not all that good.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. I mean, that guy, what a find for the Bears.
Without getting too far into it, I just hope for Bears fans' sake that they don't end up with a Brian Dable situation where
right?
the coach is able to pull tricks left and right and whatever however you want to categorize it.
I know he's my favorite quarterback.
They have a great first season, and then after that, they just can't.
I know he's my favorite quarterback, so it's going to sound super biased, but I think it would genuinely be really brilliant if the Bears tried to trade for Baker. Like, I think it'd be great. Like, with some of these injuries that happen around that team, his value won't be as high as it should be. You could probably get him for, like, a first rounder. And because, like, a lot of the better quarterback you can't get, or they're too expensive. But Baker's good in the playoffs. You have a myriad of talent there that's actually healthy. Like, as opposed to, like, they actually have good receivers that are around with Ben Johnson. Okay, I know we're going to.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but
we can't take about
they
Baker,
need to make a trade for a guy who can show up in the playoffs. They need to do that. Like,
sure.
Because they could be there right now. But that's the point.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with that. But the point is that the Bears are having, I say, not exactly the inverse, because the Browns have 2 wins and they have.
But they're a good team.
4 losses.
That's the issue for us this week.
Right.
Because they are a team that finds ways to win.
What's the Bears' biggest strength? Probably their coach.
Probably run game. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if you're going off the field.
Yeah, sure. No, I meant in total. In totality.
In total, sure.
But in totality, you might just say.
But on the field, it would be the run game. That run game is mean. So you got DeAndre Swift, and you have my favorite running back, Kyle Monangai. I don't know if anybody watched our pre-draft episode, but I was ranting about Monangai. Do you remember?
I remember.
I went into a whole thing saying he might have the highest floor in this draft outside of, like, Ginty. I was like, that's the guy. I was like, this dude, he's the man. He's going to be good. I said, I don't know if he'll be the best, but I said he's going to be good. He's an 1,000-yard type back. He's had a 170. He's played. They've given him more than 10 carries in like 5 games this year. He's 3rd in rushing in rookies. Like he's got 175, 125. Last week he put up 57 yards. He's averaging about 5 yards a carry. Like he's aggressive, physical, has phenomenal contact balance. He will be tough. We should be able to get him. But Malik Collins is out. And you do wonder, like, how much of an effect that did have. Because Pollard had a couple of nice runs, and, like, that hadn't happened all year.
Yeah. Well, except against, I think the Steelers ran really well against us. But
okay. But I'm saying for the Browns, we haven't been given not consistently. We held King Henry. Like, we most have been holding guys. And for a guy like Pollard, who for the most part has not been good this year.
Right.
To go off like that, because he had a couple really nice runs. Like, that is not a good sign.
No.
So you do get a little nervous. Now, I love Schwesinger, but if you have linebackers trying to play DT, that's when you get in that situation with Joe the Show, if you remember him, Joe Schobert. Mm-hmm. And he was a pretty good linebacker, and then they'll be like, oh, he fell off. What really was happening is our defensive tackles fell off. And when you ask a linebacker to play 4 defensive tackles, it gets ugly, because that's not what they do. They fill gaps. They should not be the gap. So that's where we could potentially have an issue. And look, Monangai, he will tire out your defense, because he hit so hard. He had a hit last night. He just popped the guy. He hit him, and he just fell over. His mouthguard flew off. Like, he just whacked him. I mean, the point is, he'll hit you hard, and then DeAndre Swift is quick.
Right.
And he's physical, and that's a really good one, too. They know how to use him. They have a very creative run scheme, because Ben Johnson's from that world. Like, he loves to mess with that run scheme. So they have very interesting runs. And that will be difficult. Now, the Browns obviously have a good defense. I expect them to come in being very angry and pissed off about the way they performed this past week. And I think they're going to put up a good, strong performance. However, again, they are missing Malik Collins. The Bears do have a myriad of options. So we've mostly gotten away with it. But most teams don't have a third option. But the Bears kind of do.
Right.
They have a few options they can go to. So it's a little dicey with the Bears. Because they've got 3, right? So they got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden the third. And Luther Burden's been coming on lately. So you've got an issue now. So it's like, where do you go? So that's because we're working with 2, but 3 is where it gets dicey.
Yeah. 3, if you got 3 receivers, most
bigger issue is their defense is starting to play pretty decent.
Right.
And Montez Sweat has been coming on lately. And I'm curious to see if they start getting creative with their pressures. and getting in there and how we react to that. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I got to say, I don't think it ends well for us. Like, I know I've said that a lot of times this year, but I've mostly been right. I mean, about when it hasn't ended well for us. A little surprises at times. Like but...
What's your score prediction? I can go first. I'm going to go first. So here's my thing, okay? Yes, the Bears have a good run game, but the Browns all year have taken my expectations and just thrown them in the trash can. Whenever I thought they were going to get a win, they get a loss. And so I'm going to go against my better judgment because I think the Browns are going to lose this game. My logical part of my brain says that. But I'm going to go out a limb here because the Browns are just been that wacky, weird team that has no consistency anyways. It's all over the place. They're emotional. Clearly, they don't have great control over themselves. They are not able to go into a game against a bad team and just perform the same way they perform against everybody. The Browns are going to win this game. I'm going to go out and I'm going to make a bold prediction here. The Browns, hang on. The Browns are going to, sorry, I'm going to get you in a second.
Yeah.
The Browns are going to win this game because it's really off the table on this. The Browns are going to win this game 21-17.
Okay. Let me judge this out. What game outside of the Packers would we play well against a good team?
Oh, no, I didn't say they played well against a bunch of good teams.
I'm just saying, we didn't play well against anyone.
I have not been able to predict what's going on with this team.
Okay. Ben Johnson's too well coached. They're coming off
I'm going to go out there. I said my logical brain, because you were asking me for evidence. I said, this is not a logical decision.
Okay.
This is my emotions.
Sometimes you got to go with your
gut. The best of me. I'm going. It's not even my gut. This is just my emotions just being like, you know what? They're always just going under my expectations, and I don't think they're going to win. And I'm just going to say, I think it's going to be one of those wacky games. It's going to be one of those one-off Packer-type games where, like, why on earth did that happen? Nobody knows. Nobody will know.
But
the Browns are going to win this game.
I'd argue those kind of games happen, number one. But, like, one of the biggest reasons those games happen is because the Packers are a good team and looking like they were going to be this great team. And the Browns are like, oh, they're terrible. And you kind of caught them by surprise a little bit. And even then, required absolute fluke of nature to win. I don't think you're going to get that with the Bears. They're coming off a loss. They're pissed.
All right, so
they aren't going to take it for granted. They're not that kind of team. Ben Johnson is an excellent coach. It's his first year. He's not coming in there thinking, well, we're going to walk through them. I don't think you're going to get that. You're coming off a loss. He knows this is a team, because of Caleb Williams, is not, like, great. Like, he may have great moments, but for the most part, he's not great. And so it kind of puts a cap on the team. So you can't afford to take wins for granted. So I think the defense will come out strong, but I think they're going to be worn down. I think the Bears are too smart. They're going to play the run to stop the run. They're going to build up. Our defense will get tired. They will start to put up points, and I don't think we can really respond. I think the Browns are good for one big play from Shadeur a game. Sometimes you see a second one, but most part, he's been one really good play. I think it'll be 26-14, and I think we're scoring it late.
You know what? If I was thinking logically, that's what I would have said. But I'm not today.
With the
and
late,
you know what? It would be hilarious if it turned out to be right. But
hey, at least we're splitting. Someone will be kind of right, at least.
Yeah, exactly. That's true, actually. So I'm going to say, like I said, 21-17.
Watch them tie now.
I know, right?
Because we went opposite. They're going to tie.
I have to find a way to disappoint both of us. 20, not to disappoint, because you obviously want
Well, I mean, hey, that's better than you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, 21-17 for me. We'll see what happens in that game. We'll get into a little bit into some individual performance expectations, and then we'll finish out the episode.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, if the Bears winning, I presume you think that the Bears are going to score some points.
Yeah.
Who do you think the best player for the Bears will be at the end of that game? The most impactful, maybe you could say.
Probably DeAndre Swift. I love Benungai, but I think he's going to do a lot of the softening.
Sure.
And then Swift will get a couple big runs. That's what's kind of been working with him, because Swift started off actually pretty poorly this year. Mm-hmm. But then as Benungai come along, they started realizing they started getting that thunder lightning, and like he hits so hard, and then all of a sudden Swift starts moving on you. So, his last name is Swift. Like, I don't know how that happened on a running back. Good for him, but I think he'll end up with the big runs. But I think Benungai is going to be the tough one. Meaning, like, it'll be Swift that makes the big gashes, but Benungai is going to be the one that's going to be like, the next day the defender's going to be like, God, I don't want to face that guy again.
Right.
But anyway.
All right, so you got DeAndre Swift leading up there. Harold Fannin had 111 yards. I'm not saying you think he's going to repeat that, but Harold Fannin, 65 yards.
Under.
I
think he'll be the best receiver on the team, but I'm not going to bet on him going over that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. For me, I think it's probably about
50
yards.
If you look at every other game, Shadeur has been like 150 or more or less.
That was going to be my next one.
So it's like
We've been predicting Shadeur scoreline every time. Obviously, this past week we were both wrong. I said I think he's going to do better this game. I think I said he's going to have like 180. I think a touchdown, and I think I said no picks. Okay, he ended up with like 360 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown.
What I have 1 touchdown and a pick. I think I said.
Yeah, I think so. But a little bit under.
But also yards. But low yardage. It was
Lower
like 150 something or.
I don't think anyone could have predicted that.
Oh no! I didn't. No, because I actually thought because of the Titans it was going to be like 185, 190. Because I actually thought that he was going to get somewhat decent because of the Titans.
Okay,
I think.
I can't remember for sure. To be
I don't always
honest,
keep perfect stats.
Yeah, exactly. Coming into this game, Shadeur Sanders, I am going to go with, I think he will come down. I do think that there is the possibility, obviously, if they get into garbage time, he could get some garbage time yards, but...
It's always hard to predict.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 194 yards. I am going to go with 2 touchdowns total. So it could be a rushing touchdown, could be a throwing touchdown, and 1 pick.
I'm going to go with 165, 1 touchdown, 2 picks.
1 touchdown, 2 picks. All right.
I think later in the game they try to make a big move, and then 1 touchdown will be running, 1 will be passing.
And I think last week we advised you to bet your life savings on our predictions, and so hopefully somebody doubled your life savings account, and hopefully that happens again. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
I remember you forgot to hold the position again, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because the problem is that I can't remind you in middle.